My action research project centered around the idea that I wanted to provide an opportunity for a lesson that was not the typical stand at the board and lecture approach that most math teachers, I think, probably fall back on. So I provided my students with a packet that was a story they had to follow. And as they went through the story, they would work math problems, and the math problems would allow them to answer questions that would progress the story. At the end of the packet, I asked them a bunch of questions. I said, what do you understand about the content? What don't you understand about the content? It was really just a natural opportunity to implement a formative assessment and doing the lesson different than most lessons I would normally do. Doing kind of an alternative lesson, I was able to provide more opportunities for alternative assessments, and like the formative assessment at the end of the project. So I took home those formative assessments and I read them, and it gave me the opportunity to kind of decide if my next lesson needed to be a review or if we could move on. And it was a really good opportunity, and I don't think I did that much before, the formative assessment approach. But since I had not had any control in the lesson, since I wasn't standing up at the board talking the whole time, it was kind of necessary for me to find out, did they actually learn anything from this experience? At the end of the project, at the end of the packet, they also were given instructions for a group project, which was to be their summative assessment for the whole experience. And typically a summative assessment in a math class is probably a paper and pencil test, and I'm sure I know I still did one of those, but I wanted to provide something else. So I had them work in groups again to kind of go in their own direction with it and find something that they were interested in. The only major rule was that there had to be a parabola, since that was the topic. There had to be a parabola somewhere in the project, and they needed to include the measurements for the vertex and the x-intercepts and talk about where they came from. So they got together, worked in groups on this, and at the end of the semester presented it to me. And I was able to see them communicate the math concepts instead of just working out a problem on a paper and pencil test. I was able to see them actually communicate those concepts and see that they understood the material in a different way. So that was a nice approach to a different summative assessment as well. By providing an alternative version of a lesson than the lecture, I was really hoping that I would give the students something more memorable to really hold on to some key important math concepts. And so at the end, when I did the alternative versions of the assessments as well, I was interested to find out if they really did learn the material. So when I gave the paper and pencil test, I compared it against tests that I had given previous semesters where I did not do this whole project. And the results were really great. There was definitely a major improvement. I also compared it against another professor who did not do the project that I did that same semester. She taught the same course, but and my results were better than her classes as well on those concepts. And it was really gratifying to see that the work paid off, because the students really did understand the concepts better. And I had put a lot of work into making the whole project as well. And they put a lot of work into, especially the group presentations. They built roller coasters and bridges and all sorts of fun things. I think that the one element that can be a problem sometimes is the time factor. It's not easy to do this kind of thing for every topic in your class, and I don't really think that's feasible either. I don't think it would be quite as memorable if you did this for every topic in your class, but if you can pick out some really important ones and do something a little bit different like this and give them a little bit different opportunity to express themselves through assessment, then I think that it can be worth it.